She's a fitness influencer with over 1 million followers on social media, over 1 million followers. And you'll hear more today about why she isn't just an influencer for the fitness community, but for the kingdom.
I'm gonna try to not cry while I'm on here.
It's okay. I'll probably cry too before the time is up.
I'm just saying, you don't have to be perfect. You don't have to be all of these things. You can just be exactly who you are and still enter this space. And you can still come into a lace-up class and just be exactly who you are. And just dance for him. And that's more than enough. There's been even times where with 1 million followers, I've wanted to shut the whole page down. It's just been one of those things like, Lord, you've given me this platform of 1 million followers that have been there from the beginning, and they've seen one version of me, and they've gotten attached to that version of me. And then it's really sad because, they always want that Lacey. And there has been, thankfully, those that have allowed the growth, that have allowed the change, that have allowed God to come into this space and just the understanding. But there's also been the other side of that, the other side of the sword, where they've wanted to keep me where I've been and in the dark. And I feel like I've mourned that more because I wanted to bring them with me.
Welcome to The Unlikely Leader, where we celebrate how God turns life's greatest setbacks into powerful comebacks. I'm your host, Kara Rapp, educator, author, and believer that God uses ordinary people to do extraordinary things. This podcast was born from my book, The Unlikely Leader, where I share how God doesn't always call the qualified, He qualifies the called. Each episode, you'll hear from guests who faced obstacles, hardships, and detours, but found God's hand guiding them through every turn. Their stories will remind you that even when life feels off course, God is still writing your comeback story. Hello and welcome to the Unlikely Leader podcast. I'm Kara Rapp, and it's a beautiful day in New York after this long, cold winter. But today's guest doesn't have to worry about that too much. She's from Fort Worth, Texas. And when I started this podcast just a few months ago, I had been following this person, and I had her in the back of my mind as my dream guest, honestly. And she's here today. She's a fitness influencer with over 1 million followers on social media, over 1 million followers. And you'll hear more today about why she isn't just an influencer for the fitness community, but for the kingdom. Please welcome Lacey Cleland. Welcome, Lacey.
Hi, Kara. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure, and welcome to the podcast. I started following you this year. Well, really the end of last year. And I couldn't stop watching. You just made me want to move. And then watching more closely, I would notice things like clothing you were wearing that said, daughter of the king. And I realized, oh, that's why she's anointed. That's why she's just making me want to get up and move. So can you tell us a little bit about your journey? What led you to become this influential fitness instructor with over 1 million followers?
Well, goodness. So it's been a journey for sure. I have been in the fitness industry for about 15 years now. A little bit of corporate. That's what got me started. I was Zumba certified for a little bit, and then I kind of just looked at my manager at the time and I said, hey, my degree is in ballet, which is oddly enough, very opposite of what I do now. But I do take a lot of my formal training into what I do now as far as choreography and really looking at my dancers that are in the room and what they're capable of, and using my degree to to choreograph dances now and with who I have in the room and what we can
Mm-hmm.
do and what bodies and just visualizing all of that. But I took Lace Up. It kind of came to fruition about 3 years ago. I took a little bit of a sabbatical when I left corporate to go have babies, and of course, then COVID hit, and so then that made the fitness industry look even more different. But anyways, 3 years ago, I decided to go out on my own, and it's kind of just it built slowly. I will say it built really slowly, and then the influencer thing never really crossed my mind. And then I feel like I got noticed for different things. Type 1 diabetes being one. People were
Mm-hmm.
asking what the patches were on my body. And, then we started doing bigger songs, and then the group got bigger. And then, the team came together, and that's always been the influencer thing has never been really to like put videos of just me out. It's always been a team effort, and I've always wanted it to be that. I've talked elsewhere. I hate the spotlight. I hate dancing by myself. I hate being on stage, and so I've always wanted it to be just who has been seen in my videos. I've always wanted it to be that family aspect for me. But yeah, then it kind of blew up and then got torn down. I feel like I'm still in a transition spot right now, just with God coming in further, and um, yeah, we can talk about that further into our chat. But yeah, so here we are today, and I'm just still so overwhelmed and shocked and in awe at different times, but very thankful.
Yeah, and so
So
humble. That's so nice to see. But clearly, you have been anointed with some God given spiritual gifts. That's
yep.
obvious to me and to everyone who's following you. So, do you believe that this is fulfilling your mission, your purpose, your calling? Because obviously, somewhere along the line, you found the Lord, and these two parts of your life converge. This lace up that you built from the ground up, and people taking notice that you do this for the glory of God. So, are you using this as part of your mission?
I would say I am now. Yes. I will be honest, it wasn't that, 3 years ago when it started. It was very much, I still consider myself a baby Christian. Part of my walk, I was raised in the Mormon church and grew up living very works-based. And I would say that that was even, up until 6 months ago, just very works-based and wanting the numbers and wanting the applause and wanting, who can I put in the front of our videos to gain attention. And I I'm gonna try to not cry while I'm on here.
It's
But
okay.
I
I'll probably
I
cry too before the time is up.
yeah, I have um, come to realize that, those people are going to come and go. And I think what really broke me within the last 6 months was talking to an individual who said that she would have never known that I was a Christian had I not. I think the video that she saw was the elevation worship praise video, and she would have never reached out to me, and would have never known if I was a Christian had I not done that. And that just it broke my heart, honestly, because it made me take a step back with just the songs that we were dancing to and the kinds of things that we were doing with our bodies, um, and it just made me do a big shift. Am I promoting scripture or what God is asking me to do? Like yes and no. And so it's over time, it's really convicted me just with conversations that I've had. Not how I can do better, but how can I reach more and not be what the world expects with dance fitness,
Mhm.
which I can, there's a lot of twerking and there's a lot of hip hop and
Mhm.
there's a lot of, you know, uh, power and using our bodies in so many different directions. And it brought me to my knees, honestly, because there's already so much of that already. And so I feel like the last 6 months has been, Lord, how can I still bring the fun and bring the energy, but bring you further into the space, and really, not that I want to, you can't bring the world and God together, right? They're two separate things, but how can I just, I used this in one of my stories a couple days ago, just like, how can I bring that softness into it, your softness, your love, and your arms wide open into the space, and just say, we can, we can do all of it in one. And then turn more hearts to you. So it's still a learning curve for sure, as far as like his gifts for me. Um, but I feel like, gosh, yes, dance being one of them, leadership being one of them, but still using my story of just my background and where I came from, and um, just my sin, and putting a light on that, and being okay with that. I'm just saying, you don't have to be perfect. You don't have to be all of these things. You can just be exactly who you are and still enter this space. And you can still come into a lace up class and just be exactly who you are, um, and just dance for him. And that's more than enough. So,
I love that. And yes, you are unique in that sometimes you will dance to hip hop. Sometimes, like you said, it'll be elevation worship. But I think
yeah.
that your testimony is just using that spiritual gift to lead others, to better their own health. So I think anytime you're in a position of influence, criticism's inevitable.
Right.
So I think part of it too, and part of your testimony is how you personally handle that negativity, especially online. So how do you navigate that platform and all the while staying true to God, to who God called you to be?
hmm Um, it can be hard. I will say I'm very thankful for my husband and for the really the really good friends that I have. Two being, those were the my two best friends were the ones that took me to church for the first time, where I actually received the Lord. And so I am just so thankful for those three, that I fall back on, like when I do get those comments, or even there are Christians that will come for me, sadly, where it's never going to be enough. It's never on both sides. And so it's just one of those things where I have to just daily remind myself that this is my walk. And
Mhm.
through various times of being a Christian, there has been conviction, and there has been layers of, okay, Lord, I did this. Now what do you want me to do next? And not that he's been absent through that time. Like, he's always been working, obviously, but there's definitely been times where there's been pruning, where there's been isolation, where there's been like, okay, Lacey, like, you've done this, now we're going to take it a step further. And I've had to make another change, or another really big decision that has made some really angry and some really sad, that I've made that change. I know one being, my choice to use even more clean music the last 4 or 5 months. Um, and it's just, it's going to come in ebbs and flows. And so it's, as far as the platform, um, there's been even times where with a million followers, even I've wanted to shut the whole page down, because gosh, that's not what it's about. But it's just been one of those things like, Lord, you've given me this platform of a million followers that have been there from the beginning, and they've seen one version of me, and they've gotten attached to that version of me. And then it's really sad because, they always want that Lacey. And there has been, thankfully, those that have allowed the growth, that have allowed the change, that have allowed God to come into this space and just the understanding. But there's also been the other side of that, the other side of the sword, where they've wanted to keep me where I've been and in the dark. And I feel like that's I've mourned that more, because I wanted to bring them with me, and they're just not ready. And I understand that because I've been in that place too.
Mhm.
And so, the platform I've like I said, I've wanted to start it over. Um, but then it I feel like it wouldn't be a true testimony of God in my life. And, the things that he has constantly brought me through and grown me through, which is why I haven't just shut it down and started new. Like, it truly is just uh, this journey of,
Mhm.
like, this is what God can take with somebody that was so broken and has done. Gosh, if I could just lay out my life and what I have done wrong and what he has brought me through, I feel like it would be even more of a testimony of his love and his faithfulness, and just what he wants for us, bottom line. So, you just keep trucking, and
Yeah.
haters are gonna hate.
That's right. Beauty from ashes. And I'm only
Right.
one person with one very small opinion in this little broken world, but
Yeah,
clearly
right.
anyone who thinks that you can't dance to like Lil Wayne and glorify God, they have not seen Lacey lead a fitness class. And that's facts. I'm sorry, but that to me is what
I mean,
really endeared me to you.
too. So it's,
Oh, see, I didn't even know that. That's
he
awesome.
is. Yep. Yep. There's sometimes I scratch my head. I'm like, oh, come on. Like, the language, yes, the messaging, yes, but yeah, that man is a God-fearing Christian, believe it or not. So,
But whether it's worship music, secular music, whatever it is, you're
yeah,
using your God given gift and you're getting us moving. And I thank you for that. So,
well,
um,
I think you for wanting to move with me. It always blows my mind. Like, I just like,
I should
yeah,
do it
you
more.
want to dance with me?
So, Lacey, one of the things I had written a book that the
Hmm.
podcast is based on. It's called The Unlikely
Hmm.
Leader, and one of the things it focuses on is just really how God turns our setbacks into comebacks, and overcoming obstacles through Him. How we can do all things through Him, and the Bible it tells us we will face trials, we will face troubles. Spoiler alert.
Hmm. Yeah.
Um, and you've had your fair share. I know. And you alluded to this a little bit earlier. You live
Yeah.
a very active life, and you've been very open about the fact that you're a type 1 diabetic. Can you share how that has impacted your journey? I mean, that could have been a potentially detrimental setback considering what you do.
Hmm. Yeah. So I was diagnosed when I was 9. So it's really, I have definitely lived more life with it than without it. And I a pivotal moment for me, honestly, like, I did not want to be a dancer. Like, when I went to school for ballet, that's essentially, it's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to, like, my dream job was to be in nursing, and I wanted to be a diabetes educator. And so it was one of those things where, I get to college, and my degree, obviously, I wanted to double major. I wanted to do nursing and dance. And then I realized how much schooling that actually was, and not that it's impossible. Um, but I feel like there was definitely a way to do both. I hadn't figured that out yet. And so I went with I love movement and I love dancing and I love the choreography process. So that's what I went with as far as my education is, Lord, I love the creative process. And so I went the dance route, and it didn't really hit me as far as just how far I could reach with the diabetes. I'm just going to call it a thing because that's what it is. I've never used it as like a crutch or like I can't do this because I'm a diabetic. It's just a part of my life. It's just, I can live life like everybody else. I just have this thing that kind of, does make it difficult in one aspect, but it's also um made me look at life in a different light. Like I feel like, not I feel like, it did make me grow up a little bit faster. So my oldest is 8, and I have always, it's just, as he's getting older, it just shocks me. Like at this point of my life, I was injecting myself, 6 to 8 times a day with needles. And it blows my mind. I was actually at a type 1 diabetes summit a couple weekends ago, looking at younger children. My youngest brother, he was diagnosed at 18 months old. And they're just so resilient. And being able to take diabetes is just, like I said, it's just this thing. Like it can be a big thing for some. But I've never really looked at it that way for myself. And I honestly thank my dad for that. And just, this is just a part of who you are. It's not who you are. It's not your identity. You are not just a diabetic. It's just a part of what God has given you, to take and push. And I just, gosh, I know it really scares people. I get messages all the time on social media of just like, how do you do it? How are you able to do your fitness classes and be a diabetic and not struggle with your blood sugars? And it's not that I don't struggle with my blood sugars. It's just that learning curve, right? Like you take it and you find what works, and the snacks that I have to eat before class, and what do I have to do with my insulin pump before class, and what do I have to do after. And it's just this rhythm that you find, to just make it work, and not allow it to block you from what you love and what you want to do. You find a way, and you talk to other people, you find out what works for them. And I've tried to always be approachable with not only that, but everything. But just, this is what I do, and this is what you can do with your child or with yourself if you're a diabetic. And just try it and see if it works. So yeah, I don't know, the term setback. It I don't know. Like I said, it's been a blessing and a curse.
Mhm.
Do I want to be like a normal human? Of course I do. Do I want to not have to think about this number, my blood sugar all day long? Of course I do. Do I fear it for my own children? Yes, 100%.
Mhm.
But in the same breath, I'm so thankful for it and what it has taught me. I'm so thankful for technology and just the advancements they've made with it. You didn't get to just used to like just look at your phone and that would tell me what my blood sugar was. Like you would just guess, and you would have to be really in tune with your body and how you were feeling. And then, you would have to go prick your finger 12 times a day and just cross your fingers. So it's definitely been, I would say both. Like it's been a blessing and a setback. But I feel like as I get further and further into life, it's definitely been more of a blessing. And I would even use it, maybe not as a spiritual gift from God, but just this gift from God that I do get to walk with daily, and just hold hands with other people and just be like, hey, you can do this too.
Yeah, part of your
100%. You
testimony.
can do this
Yeah.
too. Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
And confession, when I first started following you, and before I knew that you had diabetes, I didn't realize it was an insulin pump. And I was like, I want to get
Mhm.
whatever fitness tracker she has because she just is so cool.
You
So
are not the only one.
I believe it. I
Yeah.
really do. So you shared what you've been able to manage as far as and overcome in terms of what was potentially a setback,
Mhm.
and still really push yourself physically in order to maintain your health and fitness.
Mm.
So what would you say to someone who thinks they really want to attempt your classes and they watch and they really want to move and get involved, but they think, I'm too out of shape, or I'm too uncoordinated, or I'm too self-conscious, or too fill in the blank?
Mhm.
What would you say to them?
Let's take a quick break. And before we jump back in, can I ask you something? If this podcast has encouraged you, challenged you, or reminded you that God is at work in your life, would you take just a second to like, comment, or share it? In Matthew 28, Jesus gives us the Great Commission. He tells us to go and tell the world about him. Not all of us are called to a stage or a microphone, but every single one of us is called to share. When you share this episode, leave a review, or tag a friend, that's your way of going and telling. You never know who in your circle needs hope today. So if this podcast is blessing you, please help me spread the message. Let's go and tell together. Thank you for listening. Have you ever felt unqualified, overlooked, or like your struggles disqualified you from leading? I wrote The Unlikely Leader for you. Throughout Scripture, God uses ordinary people to do extraordinary things. Moses didn't see himself as a leader. Noah was laughed at for building the ark. Joseph was betrayed, sold into slavery, and forgotten before he rose to lead a nation. Again and again, God chooses the unlikely. In the book, The Unlikely Leader, I share how the very struggles you've walked through, the heartbreak, the setbacks, the seasons of doubt, aren't disqualifications. They're preparation. Your adversity may be the very thing that God uses to shape you into the leader someone else desperately needs. This book will also guide you on how to discover your very own spiritual gifts. Everyone has a mission and God-given spiritual gifts. If you've ever wondered whether God could use you, this book will remind you He already is. Grab your copy of The Unlikely Leader today from Amazon.com and step into the calling you never saw coming.
So you shared what you've been able to manage as far as and overcome in terms of what was potentially a setback,
Mhm.
and still really push yourself physically in order to maintain your health and fitness. So what would you say to someone who thinks they really want to attempt your classes and they watch and they really want to move and get involved, but they think, I'm too out of shape, or I'm too uncoordinated, or I'm too self-conscious, or too fill in the blank?
Mhm.
What would you say to them?
I would say I've been there too. I feel like, it's, it's just the enemy talk. That's just the enemy in your ear saying you can't do this, or gosh, I could never be like her. I've been over 220 pounds and I've been where I'm at now. I've I don't know. It just makes me sad because my goal is to not have somebody look at our classes and think I could never do that. Like I want it to be so approachable and just have the door be wide open. Um, but my thing that I always tell newcomers in my classes, if it is your first class or you're thinking about it, is you have to be open. And the worst thing that happens if you come and take my class is you came and maybe it wasn't for you, or you came and maybe you were lost, but dang it, you're going to come and you're going to have a good time. And I promise there's probably going to be one song that I know that you like.
Mm.
Um, I've never had somebody leave and say, "Oh, that was awful." So it's just one of those things where sometimes you just gotta. Gosh, one of my favorite Disney movies is Luca, and he always just say that's Bruno talking to you, and Bruno is just. I feel like it's kind of this analogy for Satan. Satan, like he's just talking to you. He's putting it in your ears, putting it the lies in your head, like you just got to tell Bruno to be quiet.
Mhm.
Like, shut up, Bruno. I can do this. And it's just one of those things, like whether you think you're not going to be able to get the steps, I don't know, like don't even think about the steps. Like just come with the open mind of just meeting new friends and getting to know other women that are going to walk alongside you in life. There's always, I guess, for me, maybe I've always been that optimist, I guess. And there's always going to be that positivity that you can find from it. Is it going to be hard? 100%. But that's something that I also tell my kids though too. Like if you want to be good at something, or if it looks scary, just go into it with a positive mindset of like, hey, let's just go have fun and try it. And if I want to be good at something, yeah, we're going to practice. We're going to come back, and then you're going to come back again, and then you're going to come back again, and you're going to get to know the steps. You're going to get to know the routines. If you strength train with me online, I say it all the time. If you can only do a bicep curl with a 2-pound weight, guess what? The only thing that we get to do is just get stronger. And then suddenly you're doing it with 5s and 10s and 15s. And before you know it, you're bicep curling a 30-pound dumbbell. And it's crazy because then you look back and you're just like, holy cow, I used to be afraid of this, or holy cow, I used to be terrified of walking into any dance fitness class. It doesn't even have to be mine, but it just rips that band-aid off of, if I can do this, then I can go do other classes, and I can go, go take this person's class, or I can go try, I don't know, a shuffle class. Like it doesn't even have to, it doesn't have to just start with mine. If I get to open that box for somebody of just the endless amount of opportunity, then I've done my job. And I'm just so stinking happy that
Mm.
I get to just get that snowball rolling for somebody, that, the possibilities are endless.
So is the hardest part just getting started?
Oh, I mean, I just feel like that's for anything that you do, right?
Yeah.
It just, even with my online platform, or my online, just how I get to teach everybody all over the world and not just in Fort Worth. I mean, even that was scary. Um, but again, I just feel like that doubt, that's just Satan, man. That's
Mhm.
just him just saying that you can't do it. And dang it, you can. So it's just a matter of like, I can't tell you how many people I have talked to that had, online classes before, and how did you do it? And what were you using? And I mean, I get those questions too. And I try to answer everybody, like, what lights do I have in the back of my room that make all the fun colors? And what pants am I wearing? And, it's just, it's fine.
We notice everything.
I know they do, but so did I at one point, and I still do. And it's just, having the courage, like I told you, Kara, like it's just having the courage to say, the only thing that could happen is it's a no, or maybe a not right now. Or maybe, I missed your DM and I didn't get to answer you the first time, but I hope I get to answer it the second time that I see it. Right. And so it's just getting over that fear of, I hate what if, because it can go in so many wrong directions, but it can go in so many right directions too.
Oh, yeah.
Um,
And your health is your wealth. I mean, that's really the best
yeah,
investment you could ever make,
right.
aside from eternity. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. You only get one body, and but even that, like I don't get to take this body with me to when I go, sit at the Golden Gates and like, Jesus, I love you.
I know. We get our 2.0 bodies, I call them.
I know, right? Yeah, and I'm excited about that too. I'm like, I don't have to be diabetic, and I don't have to do all the things that I'm doing now. And maybe my knees are gonna crackle and snap and pop like every time I do a squat or whatever, right? But I get to be strong, and I get to keep up with my kids. And what I'm excited for is when my kids have kids, like I get to go be the fun grandma. Like that's my plan. My husband talked to me about that. I don't know, it was probably a month ago. And he goes, "You think about that?" And I go, 100% I do. Yeah. I want to be the fun granny.
Oh, me too. Yeah. I want to be a grandma.
Yeah.
I just like the way that sounds. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So
I,
just,
it's so wonderful to hear that, you have walked in some of the spaces that many of us walk in, and you were fearful too, or you had doubts too. And then to watch what you do and how enthusiastic you are and how talented, it's so inspirational. It really is.
thank you. A lot of people don't know, but I actually walked into a Zumba class on accident. I was trying to find the cycle class.
Really?
And I decided, yes. It was at a Lifetime Fitness in Tempe, Arizona. I lived in Arizona for a year. And I actually showed up for the wrong shift of my job. I was a lifeguard and I taught swim lessons at the time. And I thought I was working in the morning and I wasn't. And I actually had the noon shift. And so I was just like, you know what? I'm just going to go take a class really quick. And by the time the class is over, it'll almost be time for my shift. And so I thought I was walking into a cycle class, and it was a Zumba class. And as a dance major at the time in ballet, shaking your butt is just not, it wasn't for me, but dang it, I stayed. And I do remember that instructor's name. Her name was Ingrid. So, Ingrid, if you ever listen to this call and you were teaching a Zumba class back in 2010 at Tempe Lifetime, you were the reason why I became a Zumba instructor to start.
Oh, and thank you, Ingrid. We're all grateful. So we have to find Ingrid and let her know that.
Oh,
But there are no accidents. No
there
accidents.
are no, not at all. It was just a God thing. Like it just, but even I was scared to stay in that room because I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't know any of the dances. Could I maybe pick up the dances a little bit faster than somebody that doesn't have a dance background? Probably, but I had never twerked. I had never done salsa or bachata or, any of um my headphone fell out. Sorry. But it's one of those things where I was just like, I'm gonna try it. What could go wrong? What could be the worst thing that happens? I don't know. I just never come back. Cool. But I did. I fell in love with it. So
And we fell in love with you. So, yeah. So, tell me about these ladies that you dance with. I know there are a lot of the same ones in many of your videos, and
mhm.
it really seems like a family.
Yeah.
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 So, what is that
Um,
like?
yeah. So I feel like you do see a lot of the same ladies in my videos, and honestly, that is one of the things that I am trying to shift, is just getting new faces in the videos. And I know there's some people that are like, "Oh, I'm missing this person and I'm missing this person," but I felt like that was also another intimidating factor because I'm like, it's just the same people in this frame all the time, and I want to bring in different body sizes and different ages and different just making it that much more approachable. But I feel like one of the people that I am going to talk about is Caitlin. Caitlin is the other dark hair. She has long, straight, dark hair. That girl can move, and
Wears the hat. She wears the hat a lot.
she wears the hat. She always has a hat on. But she has actually been with me since 2015, I think. It was like right around the time that I got married. And she actually came into one of my classes at 24-Hour Fitness for the first time. She has never danced ever. She has zero dance background. And she took some of my boot camp classes. And, she
Really, zero dance background.
zero dance background. No, nothing. And now, like, it's just she came to my class on Wednesday and I cried in front of her and I was just like, I feel so protective over her because I mean, I, I just watched her grow into this on not only an amazing dancer, but an amazing teacher, an amazing instructor. And I've gotten to watch that journey just build from the ground up. And dang it, I'm just so proud of her because she is, what we just talked about. And those people that are afraid to start, like she literally is that. It went from nothing and now she's teaching her own classes. She has her own online dance website where people are taking her classes online. So you never know what could happen.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's what a leader does. I mean, a leader creates other leaders, Lacey. So,
Well, yeah, I don't know. It's just super cool to watch. And that's, I say it a lot on my videos online, but I feel like a really good, whether you're doing personal training or you are, taking online dance fitness or whatever, I feel like if your goal is to learn, right? Whoever is mentoring you or teaching you, like that's the whole point. You shouldn't be training with the same person for the rest of your life. They should be educating you to never have to have a somebody that you're going to learn from, or maybe okay, I'm gonna backtrack a little bit. You should always be learning, right? You should always wanting to take that next step, or take that next certification, or you're gonna get your certified personal trainer's license or whatever it is. But I never want it to always be with me. I always want someone to venture out and they're like, Lacey, you were a great stepping stone, but now I'm gonna go do something else. And I'm like, yes, expand your wings, get those wings and fly away from this bird's nest. I guess that's the only analogy that I can
that's
use.
what it's all about.
Yeah.
Seeing the talent in other people and fostering it in them, and then they flourish. And that's what a
Right.
true leader does.
I just think it's so cool. And Caitlin always calls me her stage mom. But I am just going to be that stage mom that is just going to sit on the side. And I just love that. And I know I said that at the beginning of this is I just love that creative process, not only in myself, but in someone else. And whether that's in your dance journey or your faith journey or whatever it may be, it's really cool. So I'm just so thankful that I get to be part of it.
So I think one of the things, and you've said that you want to be approachable, which I think you absolutely are. I think one of the big draws is that you are just so relatable and human. And I know that this next topic is a tender one. And I know from personal experience, very personal experience, but please share only what you're comfortable sharing. But you've walked through some unimaginable grief recently. And how has that, how has your community of your team at Lace Up, how has the Lord, how have they showed up for you and helped you carry that grief?
Okay. So for those that are going to listen to this that maybe don't know, I did lose so my brother was murdered in October of 2025. And a month prior to that, it was almost like I talked to one of my best friends about this multiple times. It was always one of those, like, was it the chicken or the egg? Like, which came first? Because I did come out with my faith on my platform that had 1 million followers. The day that I did that, that was very scary, right? And so I was just like, and then a month later is when my brother got killed. And so it was just one of those things like, was that Satan trying to attack me? Like, oh, you just came out with that is the biggest thing that I could have done on a platform of 1 million followers, is say, hey, Christ is my savior and he saved me not once, not twice. He saves me from my sin every single day, right? But then for my brother to get murdered a month later, there was a time for me where I was just like, was that my fault? obviously that's a no, right? Like God had my brother's life written from the day that he was born, before he was born. Like he knew that that was going to happen, but I didn't. And what I can say is I'm really thankful that and I'm going to try not cry, because when I start crying, I can't talk. Um, I'm really thankful that I did have the women in my class at the time that I did, because I know that I had made a lot of those women. What I didn't want was to push people away when I said, I'm a Christian and we are going to start dancing to worship music. And that's obviously the last thing I wanted, because I know not everybody is going to be, they're not going to receive that well. But I am thankful that most of them did receive it, because they were there when my brother died. And then I did get to fall. I guess I fell deep with it, obviously, but it was just so comfortable to come back also, because I knew they were just going to say, you know what, we're going to go with you. And if you want to dance to Jesus, okay, that's what we're going to do. And I was just so thankful for them. And I mean, they all know this, because they just, I don't know, I guess I'm kind of stumbling in my words, because there really are no words to put in, not only how Christ carried me through that moment, but I feel like that community, and I know I talked about it before, if anybody's going to come to my class, like that community is first and foremost what I want for anyone, is to be able to, and I know I had a lady say it to me, she was her second class, I think. And she came up to me and she was vulnerable enough to tell me that she was going through a divorce. And she was so thankful that she had found that community to start carrying her through a really hard time in her life. And I looked at her and I said, you know what? I know what that feels like, because I too went through something really heavy. And these women, this class, we are going to walk with you through that heaviness and through those valleys that, it's not even going to be one time. I am not unaware that my brother being murdered, that's not going to be the last time that I walk through something heavy, right? God has told us that this life is not going to be easy, but with him and with who you decide to put next to you through those valleys and through those low moments of your life, you're going to get through it. And I am so thankful for those women that have chosen to come to my praise classes, even, because, gosh, those classes are even more sanctifying and even more
healing.
It built my faith. Yeah, it's so healing. And I've had so many women, even myself, cry in those classes. And it just, gosh.
Yeah, I've seen those women, especially during that time, your time of loss and grief, wrap their arms around you. And I've cried from here in New York at home, and prayed for you. And I'm sure so many other people did. And as someone who I lost my brother unexpectedly in 2019.
Wow.
I think that really just endeared me to you. Just you showed up still, and you showed up in tears. You showed up, holding hands with the other ladies. They wrapped their arms around you, and you just worshiped, and it was a beautiful thing to watch.
Thank you. Yeah, it's just one of those things. Like I said, like, it's community more than anything. This lace-up has been such, I don't know. I would have never guessed. Obviously, I wasn't going to know 3 years ago when I started it, right? I didn't know that I would need it this much. And then to use it as my ministry, to have people reach out and say, because I started having class start with prayer at the beginning. And, I know not everyone is going to want to be involved in that prayer, but I can say there hasn't been a class yet where I haven't had everybody join in on the circle. Like, we just hold hands and we pray. And I always say, if you don't want to pray with us, just, bow your head, focus on your breath, just, put your mindset wherever it needs to be able to have fun in class. But I haven't had anybody not do that with me. And I feel like that has been just exactly what LASIP needed, is
That's
just to be
awesome.
able to say, hey, we're doing this to glorify God. And if you don't believe, that's okay. But it has opened that door for not two people, not one person, not two people, for multiple to say, hey, I want to do this in my class too. Or how did you do this? Or I want to go back to church, just because you have been starting class with prayer. And that alone, just for that one person. Yep.
Yeah, you're shining your light and they see it. And that's
That's all it
amazing.
needed to be. Yeah.
So what is next for you, Lacey? Like what can you share with listeners? What's next and how can they, if they're like me, and I do plan to get to Fort Worth to take one of your classes, that I see that in my future. But in the meantime, for those of us who
Come to New York.
I would love that too, even more. But if we're not in driving distance, how can we access your content? How can we get involved? How can we support? How can we be a part of this?
Mhm. So if I could say what's next, I think if you were going to ask me that 6 months ago, what was next was going to be a tour. And then obviously everything kind of shifted when Bobby died. So I think what is next right now is to get Lace Up and Praise. I would like to tour with that. And so, the online classes, I would, if you want to come and take online classes, great. If I could ask for prayer for anything, it would be because I have been asked um, to start touring with women's ministry. Like, hey, we're doing a women's conference here and we're doing a women's conference in the fall or whatever. I am getting asked to come and teach the praise classes, and I feel like there's already a lot of formats that do the lace up and dance, and they do, all the fun, like I know we mentioned Lil Wayne, like there's a lot of formats that already do that. And so I feel like that probably is what's going to be next, is for me to be able to just be with other believers in women's conferences and just being like, hey, we get to move our bodies to worship music. And that ball is already rolling. I know I am coming to Ohio in June. I think I'm going to Arkansas this fall. But there might be some other things out there. I would love to come to New York. So if we would do that, that would be fun.
We will figure something out. We will make that happen. And we will share all of your links to your socials. I know you're on YouTube, your website, just so everyone can check you out. And please, if you're listening and you haven't checked out Lacey, you have to just watch for 2 minutes. And if you're not up and dancing and moving, then I don't know what's wrong. But if that doesn't make you want to move, I don't know what will.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, no, I wish I could tell everybody, like I said, 6 months ago, I was going to do a certification, and then I was going to start touring to start certifying other people to teach my format. But now I just don't know. And so it's just one of those things this year. I'm going to allow, anybody to reach out to me. And if they want me to come and teach, that's what I'm going to go do.
That's exciting because I think, you just have such a bright future and you're just on the precipice of something big. I see it in you, and I'm not the only one. So I like to end in prayer. And I would love if you want to pray, that would be awesome. I would pray if you're not comfortable with that. What are you most comfortable with?
I can close this in prayer. That's fine.
I would love that. And I might chime in at the end because I want to pray for you too. So I would be honored.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Lord, I am just so thankful for this time with Kara today and getting to just get to know each other, but first and foremost, getting to talk about you and what you have brought to not only Lace Up, but just the dance fitness space in general. And the fitness, just, I guess, fitness. I feel like you have brought this revival all the way around. And I am just so thankful that you are just making yourself known and how we get to glorify you with our bodies and how strong we are and how we get to bring your word into our class and into worship songs, praise songs, getting to talk about you in podcasts like this one. And getting to talk about our testimony and how you have just infiltrated not only my heart, but others. So I am just so thankful for this time with Kara and getting to get to know her and her reach. And I pray that through her podcast, you can reach hundreds, thousands, millions. So just thank you. We love you. I say these things in your name. Amen.
Amen. And Lord, I just want to also lift up Lacey and thank you for her and what she does. She's such an inspiration to so many for your glory. And you say where two or more come together in your name. And Lord, we are two of your daughters coming together, just asking that you anoint her and use her for your will, and just that this message reaches so many for your glory to bring them to you, Lord. And we thank you. In your name, Lord, amen.
Amen.